Hi everybody. Today I'm going to introduce you to the JavaScript programming language. JavaScript has a lot of uses, but we're really going to focus on how we can use JavaScript to add interactivity to your web design pages. So while I'm assuming that you're new to programming, there is an expectation that you know HTML5 and CSS. If you don't, you're really going to want to go back and review those two areas because everything we do with JavaScript in this class is based on web programming. So let's get started. If you've done HTML, if you've done CSS, you haven't necessarily done what we call real programming, at least not what us computer scientists call real programming. Instead, we're going to be talking in JavaScript about really definite data manipulation. And in order to do that, there are a few things you need to learn how to do. The first is you want to learn how to store variables. You're going to want to learn how to set decision points. You're going to be looping and writing functions. You're also going to be really getting in depth with how you can get data from the browser. So did you know that every time you load a web page, you can actually get back the title of the page, the URL of your page, a lot of different information that you know is there, but you can't always see at first glance. The other thing we can do, which is really where it gets a little bit more exciting, is that we can manipulate the DOM that the browsers use to create web pages. So the DOM is that document object model. It's what builds up a web page. If you're a little fuzzy, it's been a little while, don't worry. We're going to review the DOM in a future lecture. So let's start with variables. In computer science, we use variables in order to store information. Your program isn't going to be very exciting if you ask somebody their name and then you can't actually use that name later on. So you're going to find out how to get information from the user and then store it so you can use it later. We're also going to add decision points. Things are much more interesting when they don't do the same thing every single time. So we're going to write a little bit of code that can help the program decide, in some cases I want to do this, and in other cases I want to do that. We call this decision points. We can also do looping. Looping is really powerful. As your programs get bigger, there are certain things you'll want to do over and over again. But you really don't want to write code over and over and over again. So in computer science, we use something called looping to control the program and say, see that little bit of code over there? We want to do that 5 times or 10 times. Or we want to keep doing it until the human does what we want them to do. Otherwise, you sometimes have to decide at runtime how many times you want to run some code. So if you know that you want someone to do something 5 times, you can be very specific about it. Programming gives you so much flexibility in how you want your code to run. Next, in this course, we're going to talk about functions. Functions are a way for you to reuse your code multiple times, but you only have to write it once. The other really great things about functions is that other people can write code and you can use it. And you don't even need to know how it works. All you need to know is, what did you call your function? Great, I want to use that. Finally, we're going to talk about manipulating the DOM in this class. JavaScript can actually go through your web page and search and find certain elements. It can add new elements. It can delete other elements from the DOM. So think about when you're filling out a form on a web page with your credit card information. There's always these little buttons that you can click that can say, use the same billing address for shipping. Things like this can make your page much more usable. You can also react to mouse clicks, page reloads, and other actions that the user might have. So this is where it really gets fun. We're going to start with the basics, the variables, the loopings, and then we're going to have fun manipulating the DOM. So a major component of learning any new programming language, or I guess really any language at all, is that the key is practice and repetition. The other thing that you really need to understand, and I'm actually hoping that you'll embrace, is that you need to expect that you're going to make mistakes. If you aren't making mistakes constantly, you aren't really learning in this class. So join us. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff, but I promise I'm going to go slow, explain what I'm doing step by step, so that you can come along with me and start adding some interactivity to your pages with JavaScript.